are new to club, sometimes you have lot of questions that how should I play particular role in the meeting? What are the nuances of each meeting role? Let's listen from somebody who believes in sharing. He believes that true value of Toastmaster is when you share your knowledge and experience with others. He joined Elan Toastmaster Club 4 years ago. One thing he is grateful to Elan and its member is that he is able to play all the roles in the meeting. He got that opportunity. So new members can learn by this session. New members can learn a lot from him because he has lots of experience in playing meeting roles. Let's welcome Toastmaster Visakh. So stage is yours, Toastmaster Visakh.
Thank you, Toastmaster Vijay, for that introduction. I hope I am audible and visible to everyone.
Yes, you are visible and audible.
All right, thank you. I hope all of you are not bored with back-to-back educational session. Please give me a thumbs up if you are not bored.
No, not at all.
All right, thank you. So please allow me in sharing my screen. All right, so this session is all about the meeting roles and responsibilities. What are the various roles that goes in a Toastmasters meeting, and also the responsibilities each of the role player will have to carry in terms of executing those roles to perfection. Now, when DTM Subbu was taking his evaluation session, he mentioned about Bahubali movie as an example. Can all of you tell me what are the various characters or roles being played in that movie? Other than Bahubali, for sure, what are the other key characters or roles in that movie? Can anyone either tell me or put it in the chat?
Katappa.
Katappa, yes. Balala Deva, very nice.
Shivagami.
Shivagami, yes. Devasena, right? Any more? Right, that's fine. I think these are some of the, and obviously the actress Avantika, beautiful song. Remember that first song that's there in the Bahubali beginning, right? So you must have probably understood why I am asking this now. Can anyone tell me why I did ask this particular question? Okay, let me make it easy for you all. Bahubali movie has become that successful, or it has become that movie because of the characters played by every single person who has acted in that movie. It's not just because of Bahubali alone. If it was just because of Bahubali alone, the movie wouldn't be that successful. So everyone had some prominence or some importance to play. Now let me tie that back to our Toastmasters meeting. In Toastmasters meeting, if you want to see the meeting as a successful one, every single role player and speaker has got an importance or prominence. Without everyone coming together and executing their role to perfection, a Toastmasters meeting may not be successful. You wouldn't be getting that ultimate learning or experience from attending a Toastmasters meeting. Okay, so that's the setting that I want to keep, or the expectation that I want to probably set before we go ahead with this presentation. Okay, so my audience here. So this session, I honestly believe will be useful for all the new Toastmasters members and also the guests who are going to join the Toastmasters fraternity. And this will also be a useful refresher for all the experienced Toastmasters as well. Now, these are the various meeting roles in a Toastmasters meeting. The Toastmaster of the day, the table topics master, the prepared speakers, the speech evaluators, the sergeant at arms or the Zoom master, general evaluator, time or hour counter, grammarian, word counter. Did we miss any other roles here?
Presiding officer is meeting role or not?
Presiding officer, we wouldn't usually tag that as a meeting role.
No.
These are the usual meeting roles that we follow for most of the clubs, but every club have their own way of calling some of this as a meeting role, and you may see in some clubs they would even have listener as a meeting role also. We used to have that in Elan in the past, but we don't have it now. But yeah, it depends upon the duration and the agenda of the meeting. We can have all those meeting roles.
Thank
Yes, this in a usual Toastmasters setting or what we usually follow in Elan. So these are the meeting roles. Okay. Now we will go into each of these roles and talk about what are the various sort of key responsibilities that each of the role players will need to sort of adhere to in terms of executing that role. And I'm not going to cover each of those roles in no order of importance. So I have randomly put them down in this presentation and I'm going to cover them up. Okay. All right. So first is Toastmaster of the day. So can anyone quickly tell me what exactly is the role of Toastmaster of the day?
MC.
Yeah, Master of Ceremonies is one. Anything else?
He'll set the tone for the meeting.
Absolutely. Yeah, he does that. What else? Any new members?
Facilitator.
Facilitator, that's perfect.
Who manages the meeting, overall meeting?
Yeah, so yeah, he facilitates, manages, organizes the meeting. Yeah, that's correct. Okay. So I would split the role of Toastmaster of the day into two parts. I will split it into before the meeting and during the meeting. So this is one role where the work starts even before the meeting itself. So as soon as Toastmaster of the day role is being nominated by a member, that member needs to have a catch up with the VP education to understand the various role players who have nominated for the meeting. And once he gets hold of that information, he needs to prepare the agenda. And and if in case any of the roles are not filled, the Toastmaster of the day will need to follow up or reach out to various members within the club to encourage them to pick up any meeting role, because it wouldn't be good if we have any of the roles unfilled during the time of the meeting. So he plays a key role along with the VP education even before the meeting itself to ensure that we have all the logistics in place, we have all the role players identified, and we also have an agenda for the meeting. And ideally, it is recommended that the agenda of the meeting should be circulated by the Toastmaster of the day in advance to the meeting. It can be shared a day prior to the meeting, or it can be shared on the morning of the meeting date itself. Because sometimes, due to various reasons, some role players will drop out from the meeting, and the Toastmaster of the day will need to find out in terms of identifying the backups who can chip in and can act as a replacement role player. So there is a lot of work that goes in before the Toastmasters meeting to ensure that we have everything planned to perfection, to ensure that the meeting goes on according to the agenda. All right. So even before the meeting, when the Toastmaster of the day prepares the agenda, he needs to come up with a theme also. Now, this theme can be anything. It can be For example, 2 meetings back, I was the Toastmaster of the day. And the theme that I came up with was Elan Olympics. It was all about correlating Elan Toastmasters meeting with the Olympics that was running at that point of time. And then the overall meeting would run in such a way that you would be seeing elements of Toastmasters meeting and elements of Olympics coming into picture as well. So that's one such example. So similarly, anything under the sun can be a theme for the Toastmasters meeting. And I see with most of the Toastmasters, especially the new Toastmasters, that, oh, I can't do the Toastmaster of the day. It's so tough. I need to come up with the theme. I don't know how I can actually play that role to perfection. See, those all are thoughts in your mind. But what I believe is, if you prepare for the role much before the meeting and identify the theme and speak to your member and speak to the fellow participants, then this role is not that difficult. Anyone can actually play this particular role if you have an understanding of how the Toastmaster meeting works. But we in Elan, as a general practice, we follow that. We would recommend the new members to at least attend a few meetings so that they get a fair idea how the meeting is being organized in general, and then they can play this role without much help or support from anyone else needed. Okay. So once you have the theme identified, once you circulate the agenda, then comes the meeting in itself. So I see, ever since I joined Toastmasters, I see that sometimes being a Toastmaster of the day, you get carried away, and then you take this as a speaking role itself. You keep speaking, okay, and you think that you are the main person to talk. But as someone earlier mentioned, it's not a speaking role. It's a role where you need to manage, organize, and facilitate. You orchestrate the entire meeting. You hand over the control to the other role players. You introduce the speakers. You introduce the table topics master. So you need to get, as part of reaching out to the VP education and also reaching out to the other role players, you also gather their introduction. Sometimes you can speak to them and get their introduction, or sometimes you can come up with your own introduction as well. It depends completely upon how you want to do that. So once you have that, you can introduce and you can pass on the stage control to others. Just like the master of ceremony, as Vijay rightly said, the master of ceremony, what they do is they keep a setting of that event, and then they call upon the distinguished personalities who are attending that event for them to talk about. It's just like that. And while you do that, you can come up with your own activities, you can come up with your own unique questions to have engagement with the audience as well. You must have seen that in your corporate annual day function or any other wedding events, the MCs, they try to engage with the audience as well. They reach out to the audience, they ask them some funny questions, they conduct some events and activities with adults and children alike, and make it a very vibrant meeting. So if you don't have that, you can it's absolutely fine not to have these activities and events as well in a Toastmasters meeting. But the moment you don't have any of this, the meeting becomes monotonous. It's easy to get bored. And in Elan, we conduct the meeting in the evening right after the lunch. So someone can easily doze off if there is no particular funny element or interactive activities present in the meeting. So Toastmaster of the day will have to come up with something unique to do that. So that's pretty much it, if you ask me about the Toastmaster of the day. Okay, so before the meeting and during the meeting, and the person who ensures that the meeting runs as per the original agenda, follows the standard flow of handing over the virtual stage. Now we are in the virtual setting, so we need to pass on the stage to the respective role players and ensure that the meeting signs off on time. Okay, and there is one thing, that in Toastmasters we also give away prizes at the end of the meeting to identify who is the best prepared speaker and also the best table talk speaker, etc. Right? So for all the speakers, Toastmaster of the day will need to call for voting as well, and will have to ask all the participants to give feedback to the speakers, especially for the prepared speeches segment. Okay, so the call for voting activity is also being done by the Toastmaster of the day. Okay, so while you do this, and you must have already understood that there is a lot of skill, the life skill or the corporate skill that you are gaining. The planning skill, the time management skill, the facilitation, the organization, you are automatically getting leadership skills by speaking to different individuals, helping them, supporting them. And overall, when you play Toastmaster of the Day role, you get a chance to interact with multiple different individuals, thereby having limitless growth. Okay, so now let me move on to the next one. I would definitely be giving some 5 or 10 minutes at the end of the session for any questions. So we will quickly move on to the next one. Now the general evaluator. So we talked about evaluation in depth today, already as part of the first session. So the general evaluator is the person who facilitates the evaluation segment. Now the Toastmaster of the day will be handing control over to the general evaluator, and the general evaluator will be calling each of the role players. Now you know that there are various role players. Timer, we already have a timer in today's meeting. We have sergeant at arms. But evaluator in specific is going to call the meeting evaluators. For example, word master, grammarian, R-counter, timer, all these people will be introduced by the general evaluator. So he is the facilitator for the evaluation segment. Okay, so he introduces his evaluation team and conducts the evaluation segment. Now, the biggest sort of part that the general evaluator need to play is he needs to run the evaluation for the entire meeting. Okay, he needs to do it right from the time the meeting started. Even though he comes later on in the meeting when the Toastmaster of the day introduces him, his actual role starts even before that. So the moment the meeting starts at 3 o'clock, in the case of Elan, the evaluator will be keeping an eye on the entire course of action of the meeting. Okay, sometimes I have seen evaluators going out of their comfort zone and also keeping a close watch on how the Toastmaster of the day and the executive committee is also preparing for the meeting. So sometimes I have seen how they are commenting the executive committee as well as the Toastmaster of the day in terms of their preparation. Okay, so basically this is split into two parts. Again, general evaluator comes in, introduces his evaluation team. We are going to see who all are part of that evaluation team and the role players. And then once he comes back to the stage again later on during the meeting, he or she comes back and gives a general evaluator report, which will be usually 5 to 6 minutes. That in itself is like a speech where the general evaluator will be talking about the various good things that have happened in the meeting, and also the things that the role players will need to improve upon, and also for the EC as well, if there is anything that they need to improve upon. And then just like how Toastmaster of the day called the prepared speech voting, similarly general evaluator will need to call voting for the evaluators and the role players as well. Again, you must have seen that general evaluator will need to actually coordinate with his team of evaluators. So there is planning involved, there is team building involved, and also since he is evaluating throughout the meeting, there is listening involved as well, because he needs to closely listen and see what are the various events unfolding during the meeting, and he needs to give constructive feedback as well at the end of the meeting. So there are a lot of skills again that you can see in the in this skills jar mentioned here, where the general evaluator is getting exposed to while running this role. Okay, so now let's quickly move on to the next one. So today we have a table topic session. So most of the guests and the new members are excited to be part of this segment because For guests, this is the segment where they get an opportunity to come and speak. Okay, so in every meeting, and this is something which I believe in, the quality of the club is defined in terms of how they execute the table topics segment. If you can encourage and actively ask or get the guest to come on the stage and pick up the topic and talk impromptu, then it means that you are actually doing a great job in encouraging everyone to get onto the virtual podium. Okay, so to me, this is a very important segment for members and guests alike to take part in, and the person who is responsible to ensure that this is run to the satisfaction is the table topics master. Okay, again, the table topics master, the person will have to split his or her role into two parts again. He has to do a preparation before the meeting. Basically, he can touch base with the Toastmaster of the day, understand what exactly is the theme, and then come up with a bunch of topics which are related to the theme. Sometimes you can do that, and sometimes you cannot do that. At that point of time, you may need to come up with some innovative topics which would be easy for members and guests to come on stage and talk about. Okay, if you are asking some, if you are putting in some scientific topic which no one has any knowledge on, or if you are talking about some or asking member to talk about some civilization which no one has got any access to, then it's extremely difficult to talk to. So the topics will have to be understandable. The topics will have to be known to people to talk about. Okay, and so the table topics master or the TTM needs to have a catch up with the TMOD, come up with a bunch of topics. If there are 6 speakers, I would request not to keep only 6 topics. You can always keep some 8 or 10 topics, some buffers, just in case someone actually picks up on the other topic also during the speech. You always have a backup option to put the other one as well. Okay, so people like innovation, so you can innovate in terms of coming up with topics. I see it as a standard practice that everyone just asks people to pick up a number in the virtual meetings now, and then they give that, okay, for one, this is the topic that but I have seen something else that someone is actually doing, wherein they have asked the members to come and click on a poll. Okay, so you click on that and then a topic randomly pops out. So there are various different ways you can uniquely innovate. Or if you don't have any topic itself, then you can maybe ask the speakers to look at any objects around them and then probably ask them to talk about that. So the idea is the more the innovation, the more the participation will be. Okay, and again at the end of the segment, the table topics master will have to call for voting as well to identify in coordination with the timer, because this is something which we usually miss out. The table topics master will have to ask the timer whether everyone have qualified, and if everyone has qualified, then those people will be eligible for voting, and that is being facilitated by the TTM. Okay, so I have been mentioning about facilitation, so you can see that that's one of the key skill that you will learn as part of this role. And then the planning that you do before the meeting, and also the time management, because most of the time, and the reason why I'm just quickly running one after the other is because I just need to give sufficient time for us to conduct today's table topics. So time management is something which you will learn as well as part of this segment. Okay, so let me just move on to the next one. Now for the speaker. For the speaker, again, it's split into 2 parts: before the meeting and during the meeting. So before the meeting, you need to identify the project. Now in pathways, you need to understand which level, which path you are going to give the speech on, read the objectives, understand the project requisites, work with the mentor, craft a speech, and then review the speech along again with the mentor, and then practice the delivery. And now we have different timings for each of the speeches now in the pathways world. So you need to understand the timing and work with the timer also in terms of ensuring that both of you are in sync, the speaker as well as the timer are in sync in terms of the timing allocated for the speech. Now for speaker, the mantra is very simple: prepare, practice, and perform. Preparation and practice comes before the meeting. Performance comes during the meeting. If you prepare and practice, performance will naturally and automatically happen. You don't need to worry about that. Okay, so that's about the speaker. Now, one very important thing that I wanted to tell, and and I see this going into the head of a lot of new Toastmasters, that they believe that they can get the real learning and experience out of a Toastmasters meeting if they only pick up the speaking role. That is wrong, absolutely wrong. If you are speaking, you are only speaking, you are maybe improving your speech and you are coming up with content and delivering, but you are missing out on a lot of leadership capabilities. You are automatically missing out on a lot of listening skills and other skills, facilitation skills, etc. Okay, so speaking role is not the ultimatum in Toastmasters. Every single role has its own importance. I would rather look at it this way. I would look at all the other roles getting filled first, and then the speaking roles get filled in a Toastmasters meeting. Because the kind of learning and the kind of growth opportunities you get by picking up all the other roles that we already talked about and the roles that we are going to talk about is limitless. Okay. So now let me just move on to the next one. Speech evaluator. I don't think I need to probably talk any more than what DTM Subbu covered today. He talked about how constructive feedback you can give, and he also quoted a lot of examples that you can. So if there is any question that anyone have regarding speech evaluation or evaluation in general, you can reach out to DTM Subbu, or you can reach out to me as well. Okay. So again, there are skills associated if you pick up the speech evaluator role. Listening, obviously, because you are listening to the speech and then you are delivering your evaluation. Critical thinking, you always come up with unique ways in giving feedback. So you need to do a lot of thinking, and you need to do a bit of preparation as well in terms of how you want to deliver that content. And if you want the speaker to come back again to the stage, then you need to give a lot of encouragement, motivation, and a motivation to the speaker as well. So that's also something that you will learn and something that you can apply in your corporate leadership, skill as well, because you may be attending a lot of reviews, or you may be giving reviews to employees. So if you are someone who does that, then this is going to give you a lot of leadership sort of skill. Okay, so let me now move on to the next role, timer. So timer is, to me, the most important role player in a Toastmasters meeting. We want to see the meeting starts on time, ends on time, then this is the person. Because time is money. Okay, there is no other easy way to put it. And if you don't respect time, we will miss out on a lot of things. Okay, so again, for timer, it's split into two parts. Timer will have to identify who are the prepared speakers, who are what are the various role players involved in the meeting, and then ensure that the timing allocated is correct for the overall Toastmasters meeting. So his work starts even before the meeting, and then once the meeting starts, he or she will be coming in and giving an introduction about the role, and then explain about the importance of time. Maybe the timer can sync the explanation or the introduction with the theme in itself. Okay, so that's something that you can do out of your comfort zone. You can identify a unique or distinctive way to give an explanation about the timing, because the moment you do that, you are grabbing the attention of the audience. You are getting everyone glued to what you are talking about. If you can just tie this back to the theme or come up with a unique way of introducing your role, and then the timer will have to come up with a way to show the flags. One thing which I tend to do when I pick up this role is I maybe change my display profile with various timing flags, so that I can change it, and then the speakers can actually, or the role players can actually see that. Or you can share your screen and you can actually show the flags using the shared screen as well. Some people even put the word of the day and idiom of the day also in the presentation that they share with the timing flags. So in every role or every speech segment, we have basically three flags that we show, right? So for minimum, for maximum, and in between. Okay, so minimum means for any role player to actually qualify, especially the table topics speakers as well as the prepared speakers, you have a minimum grace period. So if you cross that, you are qualified. And then for the speakers to actually wrap up, then we show this flag again on the medium between minimum and maximum, and then it's shown again at the maximum. The red flag will come in as soon as you are entering into the final period of your speaking session. Okay, so which will be the 30 seconds of grace period, and by then you need to wrap up the speech. All right. So the speaker, the duties are written on the presentation, as you can see. It's all about positioning. Okay, so your role is extremely important because you need to ensure that the speakers are seeing the flags that you are displaying. So the positioning is extremely important. Okay, and also you need to call out the disqualification as well in coordination with the general evaluator, Toastmaster of the day, and the table topics master. And also you need to ensure that the format in which you are going to time is called out clearly during your introduction itself. Like for example, if you are giving an icebreaker speech, then the time duration is different. It's 6 minutes, right? So you need to actually tell that today we have a icebreaker speech. It's going to be timed based on this duration. And if you have other prepared speakers, then you need to tell specifically for the audience and for the speaker to understand that you are going to time them. It's beyond that. And again, you can come up with your unique way of presenting the report as well. I've seen that to save time, some timers even post their report on the chat window as well, in the virtual chat window. And sometimes they follow a standard sort of template like this to time the prepared speeches, the table topics, the evaluation sections, and then they call out the name of the speaker and also the allotted time and the time that they have taken. So this gives a good view or good understanding of where the speakers stand in terms of playing their role. Okay, sometimes you can, so to start with, for someone who is actually doing this role for the first time, they can use this as a standard template, and then they can come up with their unique way of doing it later on. Now let's move on to our counter. Now this role is also extremely important because when we give or deliver a speech, we always come up with fillers. We say, you know, I mean, so many of these filler words, right? And when we actually speak in a corporate setting or in a professional setting, or even during some personal interactions with someone for the first time, when you come up with a lot of this R's or filler words, then it takes away the true essence of communication. So this role player has a very key part during the meeting to identify who all are using the filler sounds or the words or the double clutches and the pauses. So the person again, when general evaluator calls on for introduction, comes, introduces what they are going to evaluate on, and then they come back later on during the closing stages of the meeting when general evaluator calls for giving their report. Okay, so basically it's divided into two parts. You come, give introduction, and then you come, give your report. But this person will have to, again, just like general evaluator, throughout the meeting, they will have to pay attention to the filler words or the double clutches or the pauses that the speakers are actually using in the meeting. Okay. Again, as I said with the timer, this person can also come up with a unique way of capturing the uh, the various fillers or the sounds that the speakers are actually using. And one more important thing I wanted to say is sometimes I have seen that the accountant comes, gives introduction, and then comes, shares the report, which is absolutely fine. But you can take this to the next level if you also come up with some unique ways in which speakers can avoid this in the future. Okay, so that's something the person playing accountant role can keep it in mind when they do this for the next time. Okay, so now you can see that I have already calculated the number of hours and nums that I have used in this meeting. So you can see that I already used 9 hours. Did I use any and buds, you know, so this is a kind of template again the role player can use when they are actually playing this role for the first time. But once they master this, when they perfect this role, then they can come up with their own standard templates, or even can write it in a notepad. All right, so let's quickly move on to grammarian. Now, we talked about all the roles. There is one thing which stands out in all these roles is communication. We are communicating. Evaluator is communicating. Speaker is communicating. Everyone is communicating. Why are we here? We want to improve the way we communicate. We want to improve our language. We want to improve the vocabulary that we use. We want to correct the grammatical usages in sentences. We want to identify new idioms to use, right? So that's when this role comes in. Again, this role is split into two parts: before the meeting and during the meeting. Before the meeting, the role player will have to identify a word of the day and the idiom of the day, and then they need to, some role players share it in advance of the meeting, some even comes during the meeting and share it as a surprise to everyone. Either ways, it's fine. Again, this person is going to evaluate each and every single role player and speaker on the meeting. They are going to check the correct usages and the incorrect usages. They are going to check how many people are using the word of the day and the idiom of the day. And this role is extremely important in a Toastmaster setting, because you get to learn a new vocabulary, or you get to learn something from other fellow speakers or role players when the grammarian comes up with their report. Because otherwise you usually listen and then you forget. But when you see the grammarian at the end of the meeting come up with the report and share the findings, then you really learn the kind of words or the kind of way you can structure the sentences, right? So this is all about the grammar. It's all about identifying the right words, the right usages in the correct settings, and also ensure that the speakers and role players use the word of the day and the idiom of the day. Now, I see it in virtual settings that the grammarian actually keeps sharing the word of the day and the idiom of the day at regular intervals via virtual chat. So people can see that, and then they can prompt up to use that while they are playing the role, or the sort of they can use it while they are speaking to the audience. Okay, so I have just randomly put in some word of the day and idiom of the day. So word of the day can be anything that you use on a daily basis, or it can be something that you can research and come up with, which people can easily use in a Toastmasters meeting. You can't obviously come up with something that Shashi Tharoor uses, because it will be difficult for members or guests to use that. You need to come up with something very simple. For example, like elate. Elate is to make happy, excited, or proud. So that can be easily used in any sentences that you are going to use, either in impromptu setting or prepared speech setting. And then blessing in disguise is an idiom. So it's an unfortunate event or situation. Again, this is something that you can probably use this format to mention the meaning and the example in which the role players and the speakers can actually use this word of the day and the idiom of the day. Okay, and this is a sample template or format or checklist that the grammarian can use to cover the name of the speaker, whether how many times they use word of the day, idiom of the day, the good usages and the incorrect usages. As simple as that. But the kind of learning, the skill that you develop when you perform this role is immense, because you are getting exposed to the right language. You are going to automatically do some research about the language. I don't know how well you all learned grammar, but I was poor in grammar when I was in school days. Playing this role helped me to understand a lot of things: nouns, verbs, adverbs, past participle, a lot of things you will automatically get exposed to without the boredom of reading a complete grammar book. Okay, so yeah, so now comes to word counter. Word counter, though this appears simple on paper, but I have seen some people coming up with unique ways in introducing the word counter role. They sometimes even get the best role player award as well, because sometimes when people are not taking, because we all aim for getting some reward or recognition out of the roles we play, right? But this is one unique role where you can challenge yourself to play to the perfection, or can play it in some unique way which no one have done it any time. If you can actually do that, there is nothing like that. The kind of learning that you are going to get is immense. Again, the word counter will have to come when called upon for giving the introduction and explain the categories of voting that's going to be there in the meeting. And then they will have to, if there is a ballot sheet or if it is a Google link, then they have to explain about the way in which voting will be collected. And also they can talk about the disqualification process as well. Okay. So again, learning, automatically learning some best practices of being integrity, showing integrity, honesty, and timeliness as well. And also, you are the person who is going to get the center of all the attention when the winners will be called on at the end of the meeting. So yeah, so the this is a challenging role. People find it as very easy, but it's not easy if you ask me. And this is a role that everyone will look up to. And if you can tie this with the team, there is nothing like that. You can take this to the next level. Okay. Now, sergeant at arms. So this is the first one that we play in a meeting setting. I am keeping this for the last because the best impression creates the last impression. That's the reason why I kept this for the last, because this role sets the tone of the meeting. Okay, if the person can come in and in a very confident manner explain the roles and responsibilities or the duties, then everyone will get glued to the meeting right from the word go, from the beginning. So again, the sergeant at arms or the Zoom master introduces the role, rules of meeting, and then introduces the presiding officer or the Toastmaster of the day, depending upon whether the presiding officer needs to come or not. And then in a virtual setting, this person has a lot of things to do. And I believe that you will learn a lot of skills when you actually play this role, because you are actually going to control the entire virtual audience. You are going to ensure that there is no one actually distracting the meeting. There is no one talking while the speaker is on stage. You are ensuring that the Zoom is working and everyone can actually share the screen. They can run the poll. They can interact with the audience. A lot of things. So you need to be alert throughout the meeting, and there is no one else in the meeting need to be this much alert than the sergeant at arms. If the sergeant at arms even blink an eye or move away from the meeting itself will collapse. So a lot of multitasking goes in, a lot of leadership skills goes in. You need to sometimes speak to the role players or the speakers during the meeting itself, just to ensure that whether they are actually having any trouble or any issues. You need to connect with the prepared speakers if in case they have some network issues or bandwidth issues. So you are everywhere. So the person who is going to play this role is going to get immense amount of learning, and they can actually use this in corporate setting as well. We use Zoom. It can be any virtual call platform, but in Elan we use Zoom, and in most of the corporates Zoom is the platform. So you can learn a lot of things. For example, in the last meeting, when I was trying to share a video, I didn't know how to actually play the audio for that video. And some of the members out there helped me in identifying the right checkbox to share the audio as well. See, and now when I go to my corporate setting, I can easily identify how to actually do that, maybe share that experience to someone else as well. So this is also a very, very important role in a Toastmaster setting, because this sets the tone for the meeting right from the word go. All right, so that's it. Those are the various roles. I don't know whether I have taken more time than expected, but I try to be as fast and crisp as possible. But for every single role, the preparation is key. Okay, never underestimate the power of preparation. Power of preparation is something that I just came up with. So and the kind of mentoring that you need to get as well. You all have mentors, so you speak to the mentors. they will be having some ideas in unique ways of coming and presenting or introducing your role. And then every role player will have to at least go through the agenda once or twice or during the meeting to ensure that they are sticking to the agenda or not bypassing anything. And the next bullet, the fourth bullet point that you can see on my stage is extremely key for your personal development and improvement. You identify and evaluate. Not the speakers have the evaluator, not the general evaluator, but you can also identify an offline evaluator for yourself. For example, TTM is played by Raj Mahendra. Raj Mahendra can approach me before the meeting and ask Toastmaster Visakh, can you evaluate me the way I have actually done the table topics master session today? So I will be evaluating him based on the time I get and then pass on the feedback offline to Raj Mahendra. So he is improving. I am improving on my evaluation skill. I am also improving on my listening skill as well. So win-win for everyone. So, and also I have shown various checklists which you can use for reporting purpose. The same checklist can be used, or you can come up with your own checklist as well. And the most important thing here, again, the second last point, getting VP education to update the tracker. So you are playing all these roles. And if you are not knowing the number of times you played the role, then there is no point in it, because the more you play each of these roles and if you identify the roles that you haven't played for a long period of time, then you will definitely try to go out of the comfort zone. For example, last year I set a target for me to actually play every single role in a Toastmaster meeting. I wanted me to actually play the role of a grammarian, timer, Zoom master. I wanted to take a session, which I am doing it today. So I'm getting exposed to every single thing. So if you track what you are doing, then you will definitely try to ensure that you do everything, so that you want to see your name against each and every role in a Toastmasters meeting. Take feedback, give feedback. That again is bread and butter of Toastmasters. So that's also there in the last bullet point. Okay, so I don't want to talk about the key determinants. Learning is immense. You will develop every single life skill that you can talk about when you play all these roles. So I'm not going to talk about this again. Okay, and wrap up. Yeah, you understood what are the various roles. You understood why we play the roles, how we play the roles, the templates, the checklist, and the benefits that we get out of playing various roles. That's it from me. And one last thing that I want to say is, take the chance to play the role. If you don't take the chance to play the role, you will always be playing roles that are comfortable to you. Take the chance to play the timer, take the chance to play the word counter, and you take the chance, you know how automatically you are getting exposed to a lot of skills and the kind of learning and the growth that you are getting as well. With that thought, I'm done. And if there are any questions, I'm happy to take.
Thank you, Toastmaster Visakh. And we can utilize this time to ask if any query we have from Toastmaster Visakh. Do we have any query?
I have one question.
Yeah.
Visakh, I want to know how you designed that Olympic role. So how you planned this to have it like that. So just wanted to know the TTM role, what you were doing. PMO role.
Yeah, so talking about that particular theme in specific, so I followed the same process that I mentioned in today's session. The theme automatically came to me. Okay, I was actually I wasn't even thinking what the theme should be. I was watching Olympics suddenly, and then I picked up the role. First, I picked up the role, then I thought about the theme. So what I would recommend or suggest everyone is to pick up the role first. Remaining things will automatically happen. If you are waiting for the perfect theme for yourself or perfect theme for the meeting, you will never play that role. So I picked up the role. It could have been anything else. Then I was watching Olympics on fine day. Then I got a thought that why can't I relate Olympics with Toastmasters? Then I started working on that. I started putting in some thoughts. I started noting down some contents in which, and a lot of things that you have seen on that meeting. I was fortunate that it was all impromptu. I didn't plan anything. If you attended that meeting, towards the end of the meeting, I was showing some gold medal also. I didn't even prepare anything. Because sometimes being a Toastmaster of the day, you need to, in an impromptu manner, you need to come up with ways to tie up with the theme, because the prepared speakers can speak something. And then if they speak something, you need to have your critical thinking to tie that back to the theme. If they are talking about sports, you need to tie that back to the theme. If they are talking about Olympics, then you can easily tie that back. If we are talking about grit, determination, then you know that all the Olympians will have to have the grit and determination. So somehow you need to tie that back, and that's where the critical thinking comes in. The more you play the role, it automatically comes. But as I said, first thing is take the role, and then everything else will naturally follow.
Okay.
Toastmaster Visakh, I have, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, any other questions? Yeah, go on, Vijay.
Yeah, so sometime I have seen that general evaluator giving the feedback to speech evaluator also. So should we give the feedback to speech evaluator as a G or not?
Yeah, so my personal take on this is you shouldn't be giving evaluation for the speakers. There is a role already for the speech evaluations, right? And it is the role and the responsibility of that person to give feedback for the speakers. Okay, but if you have identified something specific which the speaker have done, or the speaker have excelled in or have committed, which they definitely need to improve upon, and you can't shy away from sharing that, you can definitely share that feedback. Okay, but
Okay.
that comes in exception. Okay, for example, the evaluator, the speech evaluator is a new member, I have not exposed to the evaluation, they missed out some obvious point, and the speaker is a veteran Toastmaster, and so you need to give some value addition to the speaker as well. That's when, as a general evaluator, you can chip in and then can share some specific or obvious points.
Thank you. Thanks. Anybody has any question?
Yes, I have one question, Toastmaster Visakh. So how many days prior we need to nominate ourselves for this meeting rules? Since I'm new joiner, so I want to know this.
Okay, how many?
How many days prior to this meeting do we need to nominate ourselves for particular roles?
Yeah, so as soon as the VP Education sends out a communication, either in WhatsApp chat or with the Elan Toastmasters members, or when the notification comes in your Gmail, or any email platform that you have, you need to immediately nominate yourself for the role by sending an email, and then you also need to follow the process of what role that you are nominating to, and you need to mention the details surrounding that role so they can capture that, and then put your name against the agenda that the Toastmaster of the day will be preparing in coordination with the VP Education. So yeah, so as soon as the notification comes out, you can share. But I have also seen members sending nominations even before the communication comes out, because sometimes in some clubs getting speech slot is difficult, or playing the Toastmaster of the day is like not easy, so they send out many days in advance before the notification comes out. So it's completely up to you. I tend to wait for the notifications to come out so that I know that I will be available for that particular date, and then I commit to myself. Then once I commit, then I will do whatever it takes to actually attend that meeting and then play that role to the perfection. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Visakh.
Thank you.
Thanks, Visakh. Any other query we have? Yeah.
Yes, I
Ajay.
do.
Yeah, Ajay.
Hello, Toastmaster Visakh. I was asking that you were saying that each role player has to do something unique to stand out. So, like, how much uniqueness is enough? Like, sometimes if we do something unique, which is great, but not acceptable to the norms of Elan Toastmasters or something like that. Some doubts.
Very good question. So when I say uniqueness, okay, so that you need to come up with some uniqueness when you want to challenge yourself. Okay, when you want to go out of your comfort zone and come up with some distinctive way to play your role. Okay, so that's when you can come with any unique thing. But if you want to ensure that you are staying within the limits of showing that uniqueness, you always, if you have that doubt or that question popping in your head, it's always better to reach out to your mentor, the experienced Toastmasters, or even the VP Education to double check. Is this fine? is this okay in our Elan Toastmaster setting? Can I proceed with this way of performing my role? You can always have the chat with the Toastmaster of the day as well, so that both of you will be tied up in terms of executing the overall theme for the meeting as well. So when you have that doubt, better to double check or triple check with the other people who are also the equal stakeholders in the meeting.
Thank you.
Any other question? I think we don't have any other questions. So in case of any query, we always can reach to Toastmaster Visakh. And thank you, Toastmaster Visakh, for that wonderful presentation on how to play the meeting roles. And I
Thank you
am
so much,
sure.
Toastmaster Vijay, and I hope all of you found this session useful. But as Vijay said, I am part of Elan Toastmasters group. If any of you have any questions or any doubts, you can always feel free to reach out to me. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. And this session certainly going to help us immensely. Thank you, Toastmaster Visakh.
Visakh, I
So,
have one question.
yeah, go
Go
ahead.
on.
Regarding the skills utilized for the roles, a timer, a counter, grammarian, and word counter. So for timer skills utilized will be the time management. So for can you just elaborate the skills utilized or used for
Time management obviously is
for
the
all these roles?
number one skill when you play that role. But the other skills that you are going to get is attentiveness. You need to pay attention throughout the meeting to ensure that all of them are actually sticking within the time limits. And the other skill that you are going to get is team building or coordination. You need to coordinate with the speakers. You need to go coordinate with the VP education. You need to coordinate with other stakeholders in the meeting as well to ensure that you are timing based on the overall agenda put together for the meeting. So these are the three important skills that you are going to get out of playing the timer role. But there are obviously other skills as well, because you will be coming up with ways in which the timing can be shared on screen. So those are other subset of skills that you will obviously learn. But number three skills that I mentioned are time management and coordination skills, which is obviously the team building. And what was the second one that I said? Attentiveness, right?
Okay.
Three. Yeah, I hope that helps.
Yeah, thank you, Toastmaster Visakh. So I share my screen. So please accept the certificate of appreciation. So yeah, please
Thank you
accept.
so much, Toastmaster Vijay and everyone, for your patience. I just want to say sorry that if I have taken more time, but I know that this is a very important aspect of the meeting, and for any club to survive and for any club to have a healthy learning and development, every member will have to step in and pick up the role. So this, we don't know the benefit, but this is extremely crucial and important. So without understanding what goes in a Toastmasters meeting, I don't think we'll be having a healthy growth and development put in place. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, well said, Toastmaster Visakh. You well put that how important is the this session. And I mean, if we have doubts, certainly it is not possible to play our role. We have some doubts, then it is always difficult to play the roles. So yeah, this education session is going to help us immensely. So thank you very much for this session.